Have you ever got a call out of the blue from a good friend who asked the burning question, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And you sheepishly go, "Well," trying to figure out what their angle is. "Nothing. Hey, I got 2 tickets to Elvis Costello, Queen, Joni Mitchell, Zeppelin." Well, that's what this session with our conversation with Bill is about. We both had experiences where we got calls out of the blue to go see a concert that ended up being one of the greatest concerts we ever saw. We talk about those moments and concert venues as our conversation with Bill continues, part 2. I mean, just name a few bands that you saw that...
But I think my second favorite one next to that was We Saw the Wall. Pink Floyd Do the Wall.
Oh, man.
That was
big time.
That was at the LA Coliseum.
Wow. That was the show.
I take that back.
Wasn't
it was
the Coliseum?
Sports Arena. It's where the Lakers originally played.
Right.
Before they went to the Forum, and then they moved from the Forum to Staples.
I've got one Sports Arena story.
I saw Pink Floyd there. They did the Wall. Actually, I saw Pink Floyd.
It's a great
twice.
place. It's a great place. It was. Now it's not there anymore. Yeah. Now it's some soccer field or something, a stadium. They completely rededicated because the dynamics of the neighborhood have completely changed, and the
Olympics are coming to town, so they want to get ready.
Yeah, because it was the sports arena was. You're right. It was the original home of the Lakers and the L.A. Kings, or the Blades. I don't remember what they were called. I think they were called the Blades first, and I actually saw a hockey game there. When I don't remember what the occasion was. I was young. I was probably junior high, went with somebody's family. Yeah, I got tickets. You want to go? One of those things. But out of the blue, this is back in the early 80s. I was at the pet store. This is the Pasadena era. And my best friend, who I very seldom it's weird. I think because we had women in our lives, we would go to the concerts with them.
Sure.
But Greg was his name, is his name, and we went to a few concerts together in the earlier days. But Greg calls me out of the blue at work, and he goes, "What are you doing tonight?" This is one of those who wants to go to a concert stories with Blue Oyster Cult. And I said, I'm in Pasadena. He's out working for Hughes Aircraft, that big campus there. And I don't even know we'll call it Fullerton. And I don't know what. He goes, Annette, who was his girlfriend, later married, has got 103 fever, and I got 2 tickets for Springsteen. You want to go? And I honestly have never been a huge Springsteen fan. I appreciate him a lot, and I love Clarence Clemens. But I went to the concert, and The River had just come out, that double album. So he was big time, Cadillac Ranch, and there's at least a dozen songs off that album. That The River, and that too. Prove It All Night. I don't know if that's on that album, but I mean, every song I had heard of him, he played that night. And it was a total unexpected deal. And we saw Springsteen at the Sports Arena.
Oh, okay.
And he was the boss. He was great. I mean, I didn't have to pay. I just had to go along. And I forever have been, Greg and I kind of had a trade-off. He took me to that concert, and I got tickets for a Lakers championship. We're getting off music here. Yeah. In 1982, the beginning of the Magic Johnson era, towards the beginning. I think he was there before then. The Lakers played the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs. And the Lakers were pretty dominant. They were up 3-2. Game 6 was back at the Forum. And I knew this was our chance. This is my one chance to see not only a big game, but to put out some money, a championship game. And we got 15 rows up the loge, up the main, there's one main aisle that went around the Forum. And it was the colonnade or the loge. We were 15 rows up in the colonnade on the baseline for the game, and they won the game. But the thing was,
it must have been exciting.
When you walked in that night, I've never experienced this, Bill, anywhere, even at a concert, except that moment when the lights drop. That moment the lights drop, there's always that gasp of, oh man, here we go.
Yeah, get ready.
Greg and I walked into the Forum for the umpteenth time because we'd seen concerts there, and I'd seen the Lakers there too. There was this energy. This was like a pulse. It sounds crazy, but I walked in and I can remember Greg and I looked at each other and I go, do you feel that? And he went, yeah, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. It was just the energy. What do you want to say? Karma, the spirit, the fans were all pumped, and it was just in the air. Mm-hmm. And the game was tight all the way until like 6 minutes left in the game, and the Lakers went on like a 12-2 run and blew it open a little bit. And then the crowd got crazy. The energy and the cheering, like you see in these games. Yeah. But to be there, there was a presence there that night, and I've never felt it anywhere.
Well, it's like going to a rock concert versus watching one on television. It's just altogether a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could say how sports are different watching them live or on television. I actually like basketball better on television. Yeah. Basketball is actually kind of slow, if you can imagine that. Yeah. I went to enough Laker games, mainly because my dad. I saw the losing years with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor back then. Mm-hmm. I even saw Wilt Chamberlain play. Yeah. And I was heartbroken, when the New York Knicks and Willis Reed was hurt, and then he hobbles onto the court he wasn't even supposed to play, and the Knicks came from behind and won, and then they end up beating the Lakers. I cried after that championship loss. Really? And so years later, when Magic Johnson made that little baby hook over McHale and Parrish, it washed all that away. It was just, I'll never forget that moment. But I digress. But that was the Greg connection. He took me to Springsteen, which I never. And the Laker tickets were, to end that story, were $35 a ticket. Now in 1982, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, heck yeah.
The next season or two, the Lakers played Boston. They won 5 championships in the 80s. They played more, but they won 5. So they lost a couple of them. I mean, it was something crazy like that. Out of 10 years, they were in the finals 7 years or something close to that. Maybe it wasn't always the finals, but they were in the playoffs, we'll say. Yeah. And then when it was the Celtics, that $35 ticket was $500. That's when games, I can almost mark it on the calendar. In the mid-'80s, sporting events were not affordable anymore. Yeah, they just went through the roof. It wasn't even scalpers. It was just like.
Yeah, I think music was pretty much the same way. Is when the ticket agencies started buying up all the good seats, and if you wanted to have a good seat, the ticket might have like a $20 price on it, but you're paying $100 for it,
right?
And that really took the fun out of it.
Yeah.
And in the early days, like at the Swing Auditorium, like the first concerts, it was so fun. It was so informal. It's like going to a movie. You go. Well, we would either go to Lyle's or Lear's and get our ticket and get a ride there somehow or another. I used to go a lot with a buddy of mine, Dale, and when we got a little bit older, we used to hitchhike down E Street.
Wow.
And that's when, it was relatively safe to do that.
I never had the chutzpah to hitchhike.
Or we knew somebody who had an older brother that would be willing to give us a ride. Or ask Mom and Dad to drive us down there and drop us off a couple blocks away. So
did you ever come to concerts in L.A.? I mean, did you go, or even the small? We haven't even talked about smaller venues like the Greek Theater. There were
no, not really.
Universal Studios actually.
Like the Coliseum or the Sports Arena. Yeah. We were there. I saw the Wiltern a couple years ago. I saw a band called Band of Skulls there. I went with my
Wiltern.
that
I
was
know that
was a
area
fun-
well.
That was a fun concert.
I actually saw
Actually,
Jeff
that was probably
Tolder
about
once.
the last major concert that I saw.
Yeah.
And we saw the Who, their 50th anniversary, and we saw that in Anaheim.
Okay.
And that was right around the same time. It's been probably 4 years ago. That was a good show too. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
They put a lot into the stage, the presence, the lighting.
Yeah, I remember in the 80s the lighting started to get more digital like. They had these mechanical like, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, Robin and I just were talking the other day about, remember the offshoots from rock music, pop rock, Laserium.
Yeah.
Did they ever have Laserium out here? It was at Griffith Park
No,
Observatory.
I think they may have had something in Riverside.
Yeah.
At the college, they may have had something, and I think it had something to do with Pink Floyd.
Dark
Side of the Moon.
Yeah, anything with interesting sound. But Laserium was really a hot ticket for a long time at the Griffith Park Observatory in the dome
Was
inside.
that kind of during the mid-'70s?
Yeah,
80s?
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think I'd heard something about it, but
70s, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to remember because, like you were saying, not only did tickets get harder to get, because Ticketron, Ticketmaster, Ticketron, I think it was Ticketron, and then it changed names. It's Ticketmaster now. We could, if you were the first 10 people in line, it was that tight in Whittier, you could get a decent seat. You could get a couple seats. After that, they were in the rafters.
yeah.
But we always managed to get tickets that way. We always did. Whatever we had to do, somebody would go get them. The only time we went to the box office is I really wanted to see the Moody Blues. Seven Sojourn had come out, and the Moody Blues were playing like 1 or 2 nights at the Forum. And I had got turned on to the Moody Blues by another best friend. And I said, Paul, we got to go. He goes, yeah, I know. This is high school. Paul cut class and drove down to Long Beach. No, I think it was the Forum. It was the Forum. Drove to the box office by himself. I didn't have the balls to cut class. I would have gotten in big trouble.
Sure.
And he got 2 seats. They weren't great seats. They were at the far end, the other curved end up in the colonnade. I mean, it was a long ways away, but we were there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any big screens, but the sound back there actually was better. That was a problem with the Forum, the sound. If you had good seats, like in the first third of the way back or something, I didn't sit on the floor very often. I was always on the sides.
Yeah.
And the sound would echo. It would bounce. And you could hear an echo sometimes. And it sucked. It was really affected the sound. But when we sat way out there for the Moody's, I remember going, the one good thing about sitting here, Paul, is you can hear better.
Yeah. Swing Auditorium, I was going to mention, the seating, how it was so wide and not really deep.
That's great.
I remember first few concerts we went to, we tried to get up real close, and I remember the sound wasn't that great. It was kind of distorted, loud, and not really that enjoyable. And then for some reason or another, we sat in the back, and the mixer board, we sat right behind the mixer board. He said, it's got to sound good here because this is where all the operations are going on. And we sat right there, and gosh, every chance we got from then on out, we sat right behind the mixer board.
Wow.
And we could, like when we saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Journey opened for him. Original Journey, we were talking this afternoon about Original Journey with Greg Raleigh.
He was the lead singer.
Yeah, and
that was the good old days.
I think that was the fullest I've ever seen the Swing Auditorium, was that concert. Yeah. Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Journey. It's when they were, Journey hadn't got really big commercially yet, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer was doing the Works album. And that's kind of all the 3 musicians were kind of doing their own thing with Works.
Right. Right.
Greg
trying
Lake
to
was, I think his big song at the time was C'est la Vie.
Yep.
It was kind of a French, and
he always had a little solo where he'd do Lucky Man and C'est la Vie, and I don't know.
But,
I don't think he ever did From the Beginning live. I saw ELP, Yes, and Queen like 3 or 4 times each.
Really?
Other than that, it was, I saw Jethro Tull once. I saw so-and-so once. I saw Elvis Costello. At the Greek Theater, we saw a lot of artists like that. We saw my wife got tickets so my wife could see Joni Mitchell. She was amazing.
Yes, one of the first concerts I saw to swing was Led Zeppelin, and my buddy Mike, he was really into Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, yeah, they're good. I wasn't really big on them
Right.
at the time, but Grand Funk had come out about the same time.
Oh
and
my!
I really like Grand Funk.
Wow.
And so this concert was promoted. Grand Funk was going to open for Zeppelin. Wow. That's going to be the concert of, forever. Yeah, and this is one of our first. I think it was like in '69.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the tickets, and probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, they said, well, Grand Funk is not going to be performing, next band to be announced. And I was really bummed. I was really depressed.
Wow.
And I just kind of got a chip on my shoulder. I said, man, I'm not going to like this concert at all. Anyway, Grand Funk isn't going to, they never said why, but it came out later. Led Zeppelin didn't want them opening because they're too dang good.
No, because that happened with, I think, Jethro Tull. They opened for Zeppelin, and then Zeppelin vowed they were never going to have an opening act again.
Yeah, that's the concert. We went, this band comes out, this guy comes out and starts playing this acoustic thing. Yawner. Yeah. And then the band jumps in, and then he puts his guitar down, walks over, picks up a flute, stands on one leg.
You saw that concert.
Yeah.
Because Ian Anderson, boy, we saw the War Child tour way later. I wish I would have gone earlier.
Yeah. Because the songs they did, I didn't recognize any of them because they were so fresh.
Yeah.
And we were just amazed. Wow.
Who is this guy?
Who is this?
And they were all great.
Seen anything like that? This guy's a stork.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, on that one leg and the way he'd play and his facial expression and breathing through the flute and not only flute but guitar. I love him on a guitar. Yeah, he plays with such passion.
He's such a good musician.
Yeah, he's.
Zeppelin came out. Oh, they were horrible.
You said that. Was there something wrong? Was the sound wrong or something?
They were so loud. They were so distorted. It didn't sound like the vocal PA was in sync with the instruments.
Yeah.
Something was way off. You're just, wow, this was supposed to be good.
Yeah, wow. It's hard to believe because...
But then, in... all respect for Led Zeppelin, and I did see them a couple times later, and they were so much better than the first time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I saw them once in Portland, and I saw them again at the Swing Auditorium maybe a couple years later, and it was just a total difference in the show.
Yeah, I saw Zeppelin Physical Graffiti tour, I think. Mm-hmm. Robin saw him twice that week.
Yeah. So that's a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they played like 3 hours, 3.5 hours. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean about Zeppelin. We don't want to offend any Zeppelin fans out there, but I've always liked Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
He's just fascinating to watch. And Robert Plant, I like him. And Robert Plant is more fun these days to not listen to his, he does these albums with all this African influence, and it's so far away from Zeppelin, which he wants it that way, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But I don't like it. And but interviews with him, even 20 years ago, or from right after John Bonham died, which was 98? No, 78? 78. I know there's an 8. Because it was. I think it was 78 because
I'm trying to think when Physical.
I did a whole thing on Live Aid, which happened in '85 on my Facebook, and Bonham was gone. So I think it was like 78.
What year was the?
Because In Through the Outdoor had come out. They started a European tour, and then Bonham died. There was
What was that album, Presence?
Presence.
It had.
That was had some blues numbers on it, and it had Achilles' Last Stand was on that, and
there was some big.
It was a real good album. And In Through the Outdoor was. My wife didn't like it. She was really upset, and they're saying that Plant wanted more of a say in how the songs were done. Who knows? I think they peaked with Physical Graffiti and maybe Presence. Because In Through the Outdoor, the only thing interesting about that is what album cover did you get? Because there was like 6 different album covers. And but Robert Plant is a historian of music. He is fascinating to listen to. There was a woman, Lisa Robinson. I'd never heard of her. She interviewed Robert Plant, like the first interview he did after Bonham died. And I have it on cassette, and then I burned it onto a disc somewhere. It's like an hour. His first solo album came out, and so he was plugging that, but talking about, he didn't really talk about, because him and Bonham were best friends.
Yeah.
But it's finished. The band is over, and then he starts talking about music, and he likes the kid. She's a woman, and he likes to. He was very flirtatious, but she wouldn't put up with it. And he's. I thought we were going to do the interview in the jacuzzi, Lisa. He's saying stuff like that. Yeah. And she goes, "It would be so charming." And she goes, "No, it wouldn't be broadcast quality." She says, Yeah. But it's from that point on, and now Robert Plant has a podcast. He's had 4 or 5 episodes where he actually can keep a coherent thought together. Some of these, I call it the Warren Beatty effect. When Warren Beatty used to be interviewed, at a movie premiere or the Academy Awards or whatever, he never said anything. It was all BS. It was nothing.
Yeah.
And a lot of famous people do that because they don't.
It's kind of like Bob Dylan.
It's like none of your business, really. Yeah. You appreciate my talent, great. I love you. You help give me a great life, but my personal life is none of your business.
Yeah. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, and Warren Beatty was really so obvious about it because he's been in some iconic films.
Yeah,
but this Robert Plant interview is his podcast is he's funny. There's a band out there. Oh gosh, what is their name? They are trying to sound like Zeppelin. They have a funky name. They're East Coast. Oh, I'll think of it.
Are they somebody new? Or?
They're new.
Okay.
And there's 2 brothers, and they're just out of high school, I think. I'll think of their name. And Robert Plant talks about him. He goes, "I'm jealous." He laughs about his age. Mm-hmm. I can't do that stuff anymore. Oh gosh, what's the name of them? But yeah, there's a band out there, and they played at Coachella.
Yeah, it's funny. Pete Townsend, he'll joke about his age as well. And we saw them out at Indian Wells.
Wow, you've seen the Who quite a few times, I think.
Yeah,
Anaheim,
4 times.
Indian Wells, yeah.
Yeah, and each time they're better.
Yeah,
yeah. But he gets in. He jokes about his age, and someone told him to jump or something. He goes, "I can't do that anymore. My knees are gone. My knees are shot. I've had surgery on both knees. I can't jump up and down."
For a long time there, his hearing was in question, and then he broke his hand one tour when they were doing Tommy or Quadrophenia. I don't know.
Yeah, he made a reference to getting hit in the face and getting his nose broken by Daltrey's mic.
That way Daltrey had that way.
He says, "Yeah, I just misstepped and walked right in front of it."
Yeah. There's always a little bit of sadness with the Who because I love Keith Moon. I just loved it. He's my favorite drummer. Oh, I mean, okay, Ringo, you're number 1, but Keith Moon blows my mind. Off the drum kit, he's a lunatic. He just can't be straight about anything. I don't know what the deal was with Keith Moon, but in the drum kit, he just got this serious look on his face and was like, he was born to do.
Yeah.
And he played like no one else.
Yeah, his mathematics is just so spot on.
Yeah.
And he did really good vocally too, the Bellboy.
Yeah.
From Quadrophenia. That's one of my favorite Who songs.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting. Yeah. Quadrophenia. Wow. Even going back a few years.
Yeah.
Tommy was wow.
They talk about Quadrophenia being such a big flop, but man, I loved that album.
Me too.
I really liked it.
For the senses, it's the ultimate headphones album.
Sure. Yeah.
The sound of the ocean
the story.
And the story and the stereo and the, it's, well, I think we've hit
the two groups.
I think we've hit a point here. I'd like to continue at some point, but I think it's a good place to stop and
get back on track.
Yeah, I have a tendency to meander, but appreciate you talking with us today, and we'll continue this sometime.
Yeah, along with the Swing Auditorium, you mentioned about leaving San Bernardino, but we really didn't have to, because all the bands that came to LA eventually ended up in San Bernardino. And we had a big venue there. It was Orange Show Speedway. And that would probably hold maybe 20,000, 30,000 people.
Right.
And they had a few big events there. One I was at is when I first got back from Portland. Was headlining band was
what year would that be?
That was probably 75.
Okay.
Black Sabbath. Leonard Skinner.
Wow,
Peter
you saw
Frampton.
the original Leonard. See, I know this will be another discussion because you've seen a lot of bands that I never saw that I would have loved to have seen, and there's just two right there. Allman Brothers, I never saw them.
Oh, Allman Brothers.
See?
Yeah, that's another Portland story.
Yeah.
I saw them twice in 1 week.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to write Allman Brothers down because we'll talk about the Allman Brothers because they're one of my favorite bands.
Marshall Tucker Band opened.
Marshall Tucker Band. Yep.
And I wasn't really into that genre, that country or southern rock sound at the time, but
those were the two bands, Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers are I think on a plane up here.
That's when the original Dwayne and Greg were both the original band,
right?
They were doing this was around the time of Ramblin' Man and Jessica. The album I think tour was Brothers and Sisters.
Right.
Was the album tour, but that was a good show. But the Orange Show Speedway, it was Black Sabbath, and that was good, and Leonard Skinner, Peter Frampton. Right. This was before Frampton Come Alive.
Oh, before, okay. I saw that tour.
And then
who didn't? Who didn't buy the album?
Brownsfield Station.
Okay.
Smoking in the bathroom. They opened up the whole show.
Yes,
and
indeed.
And they got the crowd pumped. They had that charisma to get everybody going. And then Peter Frampton came out. He was, knowing, he was some guy from Humble Pie.
Right.
And
rhythm guitar player, I think.
He, it was good. And
gosh. Now, where'd you see the Allman Brothers?
Some in Portland.
In Portland.
Yeah. And then some, I went with a friend of mine. She got tickets.
Oop.
And we went with her sister's boyfriend. And they didn't really care much for it. And her sister got tickets to see the Allman Brothers, the same concert in Seattle. So we drove to Seattle. 3 days later, it was just her sister and I went and saw the Allman Brothers again. And that was fun. But,
wow. Yeah.
It was just a fluke thing. The great thing about it is I didn't have to pay for any of it.
That's even better.
Heck yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this opening conversation about rock music, the history of rock music in Southern California, specifically as it relates to the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County, the Swing Auditorium. And thanks, Bill, for being with us today, and we'll have some more fun.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to have some editing to do.
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.
All right, that's it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We started Old Days New Ways to help people take their old audio and video tech and convert it to the digital age. If you're interested in getting that done, or you want to keep up to date with all the awesome offers we have, because we know that technology can be a daunting experience, you can go ahead and check us out at www.odnws.com. That's our website, and our two main tabs are Book Now and Learn How. Learn How is our up-to-date offers on how you can learn modern technology, and Book Now is where you can schedule appointments with us to help get your technology transferred to the modern age. So thanks for listening. Tune in next time.